fellow warriors. Welcome back to FanZcene. And with me today is director Harley Wallen. How you doing, Harley?
I'm great. I told you this was going to start getting tricky.
Yes.
It's great to be with you, Greg. I appreciate it.
I'm glad to have you here. And as I was just telling you backstage, I just watched your newest movie, Ash and Bone, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I did enjoy it. It's a great little like independent, like I was telling you, throwback to a like 80s horror type movie, which I really enjoy. And so you want to tell us a little bit about the film a little bit?
Yeah, no, it is. So I'm a giant horror fan myself. I've made a bunch of films now, and I have been a little bit cautious about making horror because I grew up reading Stephen King, Dean Koontz. Like I was the kid reading all those books. I was the kid who snuck in to try to watch stuff when my parents were watching a movie at night. So I know the horror audience is awesome, but I also know that if you disrespect it and don't do your due diligence, you can get eaten up real quick. So I was not in a hurry to do this. I wanted to get some films under my belt so that I would have a good product to give them for my first one. And even though the inspirations for Ash and Bone are Texas Chainsaw Massacre, House of Wax, and Wrong Turn, and in that general direction, it is also very Stephen King inspired because of the simple fact that we wanted to tell a story and make it about the characters and make you care. So it is in a way a horror movie, in a way a thriller, kind of meeting to some degree. And we wanted also not to glorify the villains too much, but still give them a stage where they could be those gruesome villains that we love. Because those lines have been so blurred now. Nobody's really a villain, nobody's really a hero, and it's just really blurred. And I think with Ash and Bone, we really wanted to show, first of all, the complexity of that family unit was a big part that we wanted to explore, but then also to have two villains that are just bad.
They were. I applaud you for that because yes, in a lot of movies today, the villain is they're just misunderstood. They're still good people. You can save them. No, this brother and this sister duo were just evil, and I love the actor and actresses that played them. They chewed up the scenery so well. They were just like so intense and intimidating and disgusting. I loved them. And like the little family dynamic, with his father trying to help his daughter, who, I'll be honest with you, the daughter was a little bit of a jerk. I was kind of like, maybe she needs a peg notched down, but I get where she was headed. And it's a nice little, and I felt it's a small town Stephen King-esque, small, backwoods town sort of. There's something underneath the surface that isn't quite right, even though it looks happy. So I got that vibe, and I dug that. I dug that. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's a nice little independent horror film that I can say I did enjoy. And I'm glad to hear your influences, because I had just watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I just got to 4K, and I sort of, so that was still sort of in my head when I was watching it. So I did feel that influence, especially with this family. Oh man, they were crazy, and it was just nice. I enjoyed it.
It was really interesting too, because when I picked my two actors to play the McKinleys, we came to the first, because I always like to meet with my actors and really talk about the backstory and everything else. And when we did the first read, they were doing it with a Southern accent. And I'm like, no. This movie doesn't take place there. This movie is, we're in Michigan. So this is going to be Michigan and kind of Detroit people heading up to the Upper Peninsula. So I said, we have to figure out how to do a Yooper accent. And they were really, really cool going on that route, because that's asking a lot from the talent to not only perform at the level that they did, but to be able to deliver it with a fantastic accent. And they are definitely intriguing, without a doubt.
They are, and I did enjoy the family dynamic. This is his dad trying to help his daughter, and he's with his new wife, and
Yeah.
it's not working. It's just not working. And
Yeah.
so it was nice. You built nice little characters there that you could all sort of root for.
Yeah.
And I do applaud you for not going, because as horror fans, I know we can like gore. We like seeing the heads chopped off. We like seeing the blood. But I like Tom Savini said, sometimes, even though he's like the king of gore, he said less is more. So the fact that you don't really show what they're doing to these girls, the fact that you don't really show what he takes that hat, and smacks them, that you don't really show the impact of it. I like that because it plays with your mind. And like, what exactly are they doing?
I think that's the scariest monster we have.
Right.
So sometimes by taking it off screen, you fill in the blank, and this is a terrifying place.
Right.
So I really like that. I think maybe we did it a little too much. Maybe we were off screen. If you remember the very original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it was all off screen. Yeah. Everything was off screen.
That's what makes that movie so great.
Yeah. No, and it's been repeated. Quiet Place barely has. You don't see a whole lot of the monsters at all. It's all point of view. And then you look at some of the other, like Psycho or pretty much all Hitchcock has that kind of vibe. So I think there's a lot to it. I do think just from reading the feedback that we should have probably given a little bit more. So we definitely have plans for anybody who said that was a great story, love the characters, but you could have given me a little bit more payback. They're going to be very, very happy with the sequel.
Now that's what I'm interested in your sequel, because I don't want to spoil the ending to the movie. I don't want to spoil, so anybody who wants to see it, it is available on Amazon Prime, because you can watch it free. But there is a sequel on the way, and I'm kind of interested which direction you're going to go because of the way that first movie ends. So as much as you can say without spoiling, let us little know.
Okay, well, I can tell you who is cast for the film.
Okay.
So Cleet McKinley is coming back. Mae McKinley is coming back. And then the family is coming back. And Tina from Detroit is coming back.
Okay.
So all of those characters will be there as we transition the story from the small town out in the middle of nowhere to Detroit.
Okay. So that'd be interesting, like a little like sort of, countryside to the city side. So that's interesting. Yeah. That'd be kind of fun to see how that maneuvers around in the city.
Yeah. Story's actually excellent. I like I just told you, I received the script right before I left we do family dinner every Sunday at my mother-in-law's, and I got the script right before it. So I sat there doing this whole thing with this in the back of my head, driving me nuts. I came home and me and my wife sat through and we read it. And I woke up and I literally got the kids off and go to school. And I went right back to reading it again. It is a better script than the first one. A little more complex. So you have to really pay attention to it. Right now we're at 97 pages. So we'd probably end up at right around the same running time. Hour 35, hour 37.
Right.
So I think that's right around the sweet spot. So I'm really giddy. And if you watched how the first one ended, you wonder how a couple of those people can be in the sequel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a little something
but they are.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how that. And you always got to bring, that's like these horror movies. The villains, just when you think they're back again, And I'm interested to see what you do, because the daughter had a little at the end. The look, I don't want I'm trying not to spoil, because I when people watch this and stuff, I don't want them.
Yeah, she's tainted.
Yeah, she's a bit tainted at the end there. So
by the experience, that travels with her. Let's put it that way.
And you did great as the father as well. Yeah,
Thank you. I mean, one of the things that we really wanted to do was to not worry way too much about how likable they are, because the father, in all honesty, in real life, you'd want to grab him and shake him and say, do something.
Yeah.
Because he's so passive and so passive aggressive, and he trusts all these things out there rather than trusting himself, and it can kind of drive you crazy. But a lot of people are like that.
Yeah.
Usually everybody goes for the dominant father with a Bible in his hand and overbearing on the, and I'm like, no, sometimes by not engaging with the kids and by not being actively involved with them, you damage them more because they start seeking for you everywhere else.
Right.
And
it's more realistic.
Yeah. And then the young mother in-law, the young stepmother. That's another one that we see that happens a lot. And that's actually my real life wife.
Yeah.
So sometimes you end up with a young wife and the kids end up rebelling against that. And I thought that was a good turn as well. I like blurring moral lines and getting people to think about, because in the beginning you can get really frustrated with Cassie and almost say, you know what, she deserves it.
Exactly, because she's a little bit of a brat, you know.
Yeah,
she's a bit of a brat, but you could also
a little more than a little.
Yeah, well, yeah, I want to be kind. I don't, because the actress did do a good job.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
Yeah. So, and you kind of do want to see her knock down a peg, and you kind of want to be like, Dad, listen, get your daughter, do something here.
Yes.
I know, get it. You guys lost your wife. She lost her mother. There's this new woman in the family. You're kind of like, you want to reach out to each other, but you don't. So I get it. And it all goes to this horrible situation that you guys find yourself in.
Yeah.
And, I get to the credit, the dad, I mean, he does smart enough with the gun when he's going to get rid of it and he decides not to. So that's like I felt like he was sort of taking a stand, putting his foot down a little bit at that moment. And I was like,
he is slowly but surely trying. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. And it's the same thing with the stepmom and daughter. Like they were almost kind of, and then they screw it up, and then they're almost kind of, and then they screw it up. And I like that because that's real life. I definitely relate to even though I wouldn't be making the same necessarily mistakes as them. We're all prone to do some dumb stuff every now and then, and I like what they do feels very relatable, even though I wouldn't make the same choices.
Sometimes people just aren't perfect. They're just not. You know, your daughter isn't going to be your little princess. The dad isn't going to be the dad that like that you want him to be, and the stepmom is, maybe she's trying to make it work and just kind of feels out of place. It's just not. It's not going to be perfect for everybody. And I think that's what helps in horror movies, because it helps you, like when this horrific event starts happening, you kind of hope that this family unit finally comes together and does something
around it.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I enjoyed that.
That is the one thing that I really like, is that it feels like through adversity, there's a thing that brings people together. Right. And I think that's sometimes true in life, and sometimes unfortunately the other way around. So I thought that it was a good, and I wanted, I know you can't get a happy ending, but the film is it kind of mauls you so much with this continuous pursuit of the McKinleys, that I wanted to make sure that the end, even though we know there's more, the end still has to be satisfactory. Because I see too many people, they almost say, screw it, you make an ending and it's like, that's good enough because we're going to make a sequel anyways. Well, the ending still has to satisfy the viewer today. Yeah,
it's got to button things up a little bit.
There has to be enough. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to just see this family slaughtered and then that's the end. You want to see sort of retribution. You sort of want to see a conclusion, even if there is going to be a sequel. And I think you buttoned it up really nicely, and you left it on a nice little cliffhanger as well. So, because like you said, they come out of it, they succeed. Maybe they're a tighter family bond, but it changed. It changed certain people in this situation. Maybe the family unit isn't as happy as you think it is.
Yeah, and not so much about happiness, but what kind of baggage did you get from this whole thing? You know, so Lucas, who already had this passive aggressive type of thing, trying to control by manipulation, and then you had a mother-in-law who was trying to engage. Well, she pulled back now, so there's so many parts of this that you can just continue with, and I really enjoy both in the first installment as in the second one that we have that to build on.
That's good. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that. So I'm excited to see what you do with the sequel. Now, let's talk about some of your other upcoming projects. What do you got in the pipeline besides the sequel to Ash and Bones?
So we are going to find out probably within the next week or so. We're going to release a film called The Devil's Left Hand, and that is my tip of the cap to a supernatural audience. So it's a little bit more. It's a demonic tale, and
Exorcist sort of.
Huh?
Exorcist sort of.
Yeah, in that direction where poltergeist, exorcist, where you don't even know where the threat is. Because the one thing, I'm a retired professional fighter, so for me, real villains are far less scary because I can fight them. So I feel like they don't. But how do you fight a demon?
Exactly. Right.
So that's the one thing I like about that. And when demons can shape shift and take over and possess, I'm very intrigued by that whole thing. So there are Ouija boards and demons and all the things that go with it in this film. And it's a really, really good story, really well crafted as well. And we're hoping for a release in late April. And then we have the big one. It's the vampire film that probably will release somewhere around Halloween. Hoping for a theatrical on this one with Sean Whalen and Jan Birch. I reunite the Stairmaster and Roach from The People Under the Stairs for the first time since '91 when they were working with Wes Craven. And they are both probably putting down some of their best performances ever. And then you add Maria Olsen from Percy and the Olympians, but we probably, as horror fans, know her better from the I Spit on Your Grave movies. So she's in it with a significant role. And then a slew of other actors around, but just a really fantastic cast. And we went after this vampire story very uniquely. So it starts back in Viking time.
Oh, I like that.
We don't even know what is really happening. All we see is that they capture one of the Vikings who's clearly killed a little girl, and they lock him up into a crypt. They sail him across the Atlantic. They bury him in Maine, and then they head back to Scandinavia. Well, 1,200 years later, this teenage girl out in the woods finds.
It's always a teenage girl.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She finds the Yggdrasil pendant that sealed him. And when she grabs a hold of that, she has essentially unleashed this vampire. Don't want to get too far into the story, but when the vampire comes out of this crypt, he's starved for 1,200 years.
Oh, yeah.
So instead of being this powerful vampire, he's now Smeagol.
Oh.
So she now has to nurse back a monster to health because she doesn't even know what it is.
Oh, that's interesting. And I don't think I've ever actually seen a Viking vampire before. So that's actually pretty. That's a nice little hook. Yeah, that's a nice little hook. That you don't really see Viking vampires. It always starts off in like England or Romania, posh,
Transylvania,
which I like. I love Bela Lugosi's and Christopher Lee's vampire. I love their direction. They're classics. But sometimes you have to go a different direction in a vampire story because so many people have told the same vampire story repeatedly.
Yes.
So that's interesting.
That was really what we wanted to do with, and it's the same thing with Ash and Bone. we want to take a really good family drama and then place that inside of a horror story.
That's nice.
If you think about, Black Mass and all these things, what they really are is a great family drama set inside of this crazy place where a big horror event happens. And
Right.
I think that makes it something else. And I think the difference for me is I have the same inspirations that you have, that 80s and 90s, and even to some degree the 70s, late 70s
Yes.
especially.
Best heirs of horror.
Yeah, it was just so fruitful because back then they couldn't be lazy on storytelling and all the other things, because you had to have a decent story because the audience kind of demands it.
Yeah.
So
Story and character are priority.
So that I like that route. And again, all those years of reading Stephen King has really kind of, worked on my brain. So I love one thing that I think we are missing in a lot of horror right now that I think is starting to come back is mystery.
Yes.
And I really go for mystery to be a main component, because horror is not just gore. It's just, you know what I mean? There are lots of things. If you listen to Hitchcock says the kill is not the peak.
Right.
The kill is the end. So you want to milk that as much as you possibly can to make you care about the kill. I remember seeing a lot of horror movies where it's like, they've killed 15 people in the first half hour. And I'm thinking to myself, I couldn't tell you the name of a single character. I don't care about them one bit. I just see broken bone pipes and stuff flying around. And it has entertainment value. I'm not going to lie. It does. But it is not horror. It is one piece of horror.
Yeah, that's why I like the opening of Psycho with Janet Leigh and Scream with Drew Barrymore, Wes Craven.
Yes.
You really get to know these two, Drew Barrymore's character and Janet Leigh's character. You really get to know them, and then when it comes time when the killer shows up and takes them out, you're like, what? And it's scary. It's intimidating. So I'm glad that you were on that same page. And I got to tell you, your movies do really sound really interesting. You've got me excited for this supernatural movie and this vampire movie. So I'm looking forward to watching them this April and October, whenever you get them out. So that would be great little watching material for me.
Awesome.
Yeah. So now, what is it like working with like Sean Whalen and him? Because I know he's got a little movie he's crowdfunding creature feature that I've heard about, so that looks pretty cool too. But what's it like working with all them?
I'm gonna totally plug him.
I
was one of the first people to read his script that he co-wrote with somebody else. It is a fantastic script. It is a flashback to it's not Little Shop of Horrors, but it has a feel of backwards in time as well. And I know the cast he's gotten is it's incredible. So I think this is going to be, and we originally were talking about, because he said, do you think you'd be interested in directing this? Because him and I work really, really well together. And I said, let me read it and let's talk about this. Because I believe that you have to be really, really inspired to direct a film, because it is a beating. It's like training camp for a fight to direct a film. So if it's not worth it, you're not going to do your due diligence, and you're not going to end up with a fantastic film. And I read the script. Yeah, and I told him, I said, it's one guy I know that can direct this film, and that's you, Sean. And he said, damn, you're like my writer friend told me, my acting coach told me. He's like, you're like the third or fourth guy now that has been intimate enough to read the script. And he's like, that's what everybody has said. Yeah. So we've talked a lot about it, but it's a fantastic story. And again, I think you have 2 weeks left to contribute. This film is on Indiegogo. It's called Crust. and it is a creature film. And
I'll put a link in the description for people to click on after we're done, so they can click on it, go check out, because I love his acting. I think I haven't seen him in a lot of things in so long, and I love the fact that you and him are into like the 80s, 70s, and 90s, like basic back to horror films. So I'm excited. So yes, and you only got about 2 weeks for that.
Yeah, the perks are phenomenal, and I think there's like 10 days, 2 weeks or something like that left. So I would strongly encourage anybody, because the reality is the more money he has going into this, the better that film is going to get. And I think it can be big. I think this could be in theaters. I think it has potential to be one of those things that nobody saw coming. And just from an actor's perspective, he is one of the best actors I've ever worked with. He is an actor's actor for sure. He puts so much work into his characters. We spend, hours a week on the phone prepping his role. We go through and fine comb that script, and we look at everything and really dig into the character. We rewrite a bunch because of him taking ownership of the character. We decide everything about the character. So by the time he shows up on set, he's outstanding. And just delivers, knockout performances in every direction. So that it's somebody I highly recommend. And it's really funny. Nobody has really given him a leading man type of role, because they see him as a Steve Buscemi who gets quirky parts, but he is capable of carrying a film. He's really, really good.
Well, I'm very interested, and I hope he gets this project up, because I love a good creature feature. Oh yeah, I love a good creature feature, and I'd love to see him as the starring character in his movie, directing it. That would be great. That would be amazing, because I agree with you. I think he's a very underrated actor, because everything I've seen him in, he plays so well in everything he does. So I'm excited for that, and I'm excited for your projects. And
wait to see him in Beneath Us All. We had a private screening for distributors in LA. God, when was that? November, I think. And literally, his wife said that was the first time she didn't see Sean.
Oh, no, that's good.
She saw just the character, and she just couldn't even recognize him.
That's awesome.
And she feels that it's his best performance. So I know we're all really excited for that film to come out. The trailer is available for anybody who wants to hop on and take a sneak peek on IMDb or YouTube. The trailer has been released for Beneath Us All, and it is really good story. Cinematically, it's by far the strongest film I've ever done. My cinema team was just fantastic. Alex Gasparetto was manning the camera. I had a new gaffer. His name is Andy Westra. I want to make sure I say this, because the amount of work they put in to make such a it's not epic as in me bragging, but it's a creature film. We're talking crypts and vampires and Nosferatu style. It's pretty special film with a ton of mystery. And I look at how good Ash and Bone is doing, and in my humble opinion, Beneath Us All is significantly better in every way.
That's awesome. I'm going to check out that trailer too, and I will put a link to that trailer as well in the description.
Awesome.
So I'll put a link to Sean's Indiegogo, to Beneath Us All trailer. I'll put a link to your IMDb too, so that way people can go check out, see everything you've been. But I've noticed some of the people you worked with. Corbin Burnson. And I love Corbin Burnson from The Dentist and Psych. Tara Reid. I saw that Scout Taylor Compton, you worked with her. I love her from horror films. She's a great horror actress as well. So what's it like working with all these people, and Sean and all these people, and in the world of film, finding your way as a director?
So I have a pretty unique system to how I cast. All the local cast goes through the ringer when it comes to get cast, because knowing that we're an indie project, we have to find ways to be excellent in places. So acting to me is something that I really work very hard on with my talent, at prepping and developing characters and everything else. But with some of those pros, when you get to interact with them and to see the level that they operate at when it comes to everything. And Corbin is another one of them, like Sean, who's just a fantastic actor and can just deliver all kinds of excellence on the film. And that was a lot of fun. He played the villain in a family romantic comedy with me, and he was fantastic. And he, my partner and writer for that one, Nancy Oswine, she wrote a really difficult script, a long, full script. It's almost a 2-hour movie, and he had these big monologues all over the place, and he just killed it. He just never stopped. It was unreal to see somebody come in being that prepared. But how I cast Hollywood talent is a little different than a lot of other people. I do it pretty much solely through connections. So Jan Birch, the Stairmaster and People Under the Stairs, have been in a bunch of films with me.
Right.
And he's Swedish just like I am. So we have a really good trust and a really good relationship. And I pretty much asked him. I said, who do you think this would fit? And then he knows everybody out there. So, he goes to all these horror conventions and everything else, and he recommends me a bunch of people. And then I find somebody that I think would be a great fit, 2 or 3 people. And then I reach out to them. And I'm a little picky, so people have to read, and sometimes I make them audition, even though I'm the one asking, because I really feel that if I'm asking you to watch my movie over a $40 million or an $80 million movie, I have to be able to give you something that maybe they can't.
Right.
So I take casting very, very seriously. I mean, I take everything seriously because that's kind of what you have to do to compete in today's world. But they're fantastic to work with. When you do it the right way, I've heard of people, like I've worked with people that other people say are difficult, and they were not difficult with me. And I think if you're prepared, if you take it serious, if you give them their due diligence, if you showcase them properly, they're going to be happy. These are people that once upon a time made multi-million-dollar paychecks on big films, and for some reason might not see the same opportunities as they used to, but they're still the same level of professional. So for them, when you do your part, they know that they can trust you with their work, which means now they dig in and deliver fantastic performances.
That's cool. You know what? Me personally, I've gotten to where I watch more independent horror, independent film in general, because a lot of the bigger movies, they're not good. Like you mentioned, nobody's a good guy, nobody's a hero anymore. They're lazy on the story. They're lazy on the character. They're doing things. It's just not that I haven't found, mainstream movies, big butts. Yeah, they're still out there. But I find myself, because with like your independent movies, I do get that feeling of like movies from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I know I keep bringing it up, but I really do. I mean, like I found you, Harley, and I found some other directors and stuff and that I've talked to that have made some really great movies that I've come to enjoy. So.
Well, the beauty of being an independent filmmaker is I don't have to answer to focus groups. I don't have to answer to a bunch of people's opinion. I don't have to blur the lines. I don't have to be doing all these games to please everybody. I can come up with a great concept. I can go to my writer. I can have him write it and rewrite it till I'm happy. And then I take the script and I cast. Like, I don't have to answer to everybody else. The only people I really answer to are, I want to make sure that the people that work on my film gets to put something on screen that they're proud of. That's very important to me. I want the cast and crew to feel like we accomplished something. That's the big picture. But also, I have to be true to my investors, because I do privately investments. So So when you invest with me, I want to give you your money back and a bunch of money back. Because guess what you're going to do? You're going to hand me money right back again for my next one. Right. And that cycle just continues. So that means I have to stay sharp, because if I don't stay sharp, my films won't make money. If they don't make money, people won't return. So it's about the audience, it's about the investors, and it's about the filmmakers, but it's not about a focus group. It's not about a political party. It's not about any of that crap. It's about what matters and what we put on screen.
I'm glad to hear you say that. I really am, because I think everything is just invaded everything everywhere and everybody's entertainment. And it's like, what happened to just good stories? I don't care.
Yeah.
Just give me a good story, man.
Yeah.
And I'm that's pretty cool. I'm glad to hear you say that. And I mean, from what I can tell, I've seen Ash and Bone, but from what I can tell, I dig your style. And I am looking forward to your upcoming movies. So
that's awesome.
I'm glad to have this conversation with you today. It's great. Yeah, it's great. Cool. It's great. Yeah. And it's pretty cool that you used to be actually a trained fighter. So that I just was reading about that as well too when I was, going through your IMBD stuff. So that's pretty cool. So what was that like, being a fighter and everything?
I think it's really, really helpful to have been an elite athlete because of, first of all, you have to be determined. You have to have discipline, and you have to have organization, even when you don't feel like it. So I think all of those things come in play no matter what I do, because I believe how you do anything is how you do everything. So I think that is incredibly helpful for me. It also allows me to not be afraid, because I've risked it all so many times, stepping into a cage with a grown man trying to take my head off on the other side, so there's very little to be scared for in my life, which allows me to because I remember when we made Ash and Bone, I wanted to flip the script a little bit on the audience, and you probably know what scene I'm talking about. But there's a scene in there where a guy gets violated by a girl.
Which is pretty, I was like, you don't see that in a lot of movies.
No.
So, yeah.
So that was something that I really wanted to do. And I know in today's world, to touch any of that stuff can be a little iffy, because it's kind of frowned upon. This whole thing of scantily clad women, half naked, and all these killers coming after them has become such a shtick that it's just almost in bad taste. The casting couch has gotten so tainted by a lot of the pigs out there that's a big thing. So with all those things, to take on a scene like that was a bit of a challenge on paper, because people were like, "Are you sure you want to do that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I sure do." Because guess what? I've never, as a guy, have to worry about rape. I don't think I spent enough time thinking about even what it's like or what actually that is. So to flip the script on it, I remember seeing Pulp Fiction, going, holy,
yeah. Yeah.
And it was something that never entered my mind, that now has to be accounted for. And it's the same thing in Ash and Bone. It's one of those things that just, you feel violated. But feeling violated is good, because maybe that'll make us better at looking out for people that are at risk and keep other people safe. Maybe sometimes we just need to get shook a little bit, and that will change our perspective. So I like that stuff. And I think a lot of that comes from fighting, for having the guts to do something that is looking risky, and having the discipline to follow through, because making a feature film right is it's definitely a marathon, but it's a marathon in the Sahara Desert, and half of the time you're out of water. So it's a challenge that I think I really thrive on. It to me, it's amazing, but I definitely think I lean on my background as a fighter a lot.
Yeah. I mean, and that plays out very well in the story, because, the sister, she's watching her brother do all these things to all these girls. And so as messed up as the family is, it would be something in her mind that, yeah, why can't she have a turn? Why can't she? And it is, I mean, it may not seem like, oh, this guy could just easily, but when you're in that situation and she's got this gun and they're creepy, you got your wife and your daughter tied down, and it's very unnerving and intense. And you can kind of see how it can really happen, even though it's something you don't really think of or see of happening with between a woman and a man doing something like that. So and I got a $2 super chat here from the Nerdporial Life Form. He said, "Hey Greg, hey Harley, thanks for doing this." Well, thank you for the $2 super chat, Nerdporial. Appreciate it. I hope you're enjoying.
Thanks for hanging out with us. I appreciate that. And that's one thing that's really important to me. I don't take anything for granted. As far as all the people that are excited about watching this stuff, all the people that reach out to me. Somebody said the other day, they were like, "Dude, you're always so nice on social media. You like always comment back to everybody, and sometimes it's pretty tedious because you have hundreds of comments." And it's like, none of them have to watch my movies. None of them have to engage with me. They're choosing to engage with me and making it possible for me to do what I do. I love, like, we were just at the Mad Monster Party. We had our world premiere of Beneath Us All, the vampire movie, and it was an incredible weekend. But we literally, me, Sean, and Jan, we just signed autographs, talked to fans the entire time. We ended up with a second screening because that was so popular and everybody wanted to see it that they gave us a second screening that weekend. And it was, and by the way, anybody who's a big horror fan, if you're in North Carolina, that was probably the biggest horror con I've ever been to. They had a Robert Englund, Lance Henriksen, and a slew of others. That place was huge, and it was packed, and it was awesome. A great time. So Mad Monster Party, if you're a horror fan, and if you're in that general area, or if you just want to go for the stars they have, definitely check it out, because that place took me by surprise. I love Motor City Nightmares and Motor City Legacy here in Detroit. And I've been to some outside of here, Fright Night and all those things, and they're all great. But that place, the Mad Monster Bar, that was special. That was thousands and thousands and thousands of people. It was huge.
That's cool. That's I love going to horror conventions. I haven't been in a very long time, but I love going to them. Maybe one day we'll get to meet and I'll get to see there. But I love that attitude, because a lot of people, I think, have forgotten that, these people love your work. They love your acting. They love your directing, and they just want to talk to you and interact with you. And they just want, it's pretty cool when a director says, "Hey, I'm thankful that you like my movie." It's not cool when they go, "Hey, don't watch my movie. I don't like you," or something like that. Yeah. So I'm glad that you're very friendly and you reach out to your fans and stuff. I love that attitude. I love that.
Without them, I wouldn't have. Without them, I wouldn't be doing this. So absolutely, without a doubt. And I, like, if I'm eating hot food, please leave me alone. If I'm eating with somebody,
I get you.
Try not to. But if you see me, you want to take a picture, if you want me to sign something, totally cool, man. Yeah. I mean, and not only cool, but I really appreciate you because there's so many things to watch these days. The fact that you're giving me an hour and a half of your eyeballs, that's pretty amazing to me. So I'm grateful.
Yeah. That's awesome. I thank you for making these movies. Seriously. I mean, I know it's hard. It's very hard to make movies, to get all that done. And so that's pretty cool. It, though. Yeah, so that's all worth it. But I really, really appreciate your time today and chatting with us and, the audience and everything. So thank you very much. And I do want to ask you one more thing, because I have a friend who would kill me if I didn't ask you about this, because I told him that I saw that you were in Batman v Superman as like a small role. What was that like? Because he loves that film, and I said, oh yeah, okay, so I'll ask him for you.
The on-set experience was awesome. I was originally cast to be a referee for that underground fight scene that happens where Bruce Wayne comes in and gives him a tip to hit him over the top and whatever else. But they thought that having a referee would make it look less like an underground fight. So they didn't want that. So they made me the coach of the winning fighter. And I got a couple of lines and got a couple of scenes. So the only thing that's a bummer is that I got cut out. So I essentially, none of my lines made it, which was pretty cool. But the experience was amazing. Both the director and the first AD were actually super nice. A lot of people talk crap about Ben. Ben was really cool. He was on this, because he's playing Batman, so he's trying to be in the best shape of his life. So we were literally standing around talking workout stuff and fighting stuff, and he was the easiest guy to hang out with.
That's cool.
Hats off to him because, but I think most of these guys, as long as you don't turn into Chris Farley, you remember that movie you made? That was awesome. Like if that's all you do, it's like
you were in the Beatles. That was awesome.
That's the only thing. I think most people, as long as you just treat me like a regular person, I'm a regular person. Respect, my party, my people, and my setting and my food, whatever it may be. But treat me like a normal guy. I'm just a normal guy, and I think most people want to just have normal interactions. Yeah. So I think that's the thing. But great experience. What a set that was. The cameras they had, and those. I mean, that was quite the experience. And not only that, but how much you learned from seeing a director and an AD manage, because you had a sea of people, probably 60, 70 people at least in that crowd, that you had to corral and have super quiet when they were doing the stuff that they needed sound for, and then kind of erupt and go wild and still look the same on both takes. That was really, really cool. That, as a director, that gives me a lot to learn from. And I'm lucky enough to have had, some of these people really be whatever, not mentors, but influences for me. It's the same. I was at a CAA screening of Top Gun Maverick, and I got to talk to Joe Kosinski for like an hour, and it's like,
that's awesome. That would be amazing.
Incredible to pick their brains and figure out how they compose and how they tell a story. And people are very giving in general, as long as you don't take advantage, which is cool.
That is cool. I have a couple comments here real quick. I want to read to you from the audience, and then we'll close it out. But from Uncle Remus here, he says, I don't know your film, but you seem like a cool person, Harley. Thank you. And then from Gil Burrows, he says, thanks, Harley. And then finally from Brian Gilson, hi from Scotland. Your movie sounds great, and you seem cool, too. So there you go.
Yeah, awesome. I think we have, I don't know if I remember right, and I probably shouldn't say it, but I'm pretty sure, so I'm going to say it. I think Sony picked us up in UK for Ash and Bone. I'm not completely certain, but I do remember hearing that they had a Sony deal in the UK, so we should be readily available there for that audience. Obviously here, Prime or Tubi, and Prime has better resolution. So if you have the pick, if you have both, that's a good way to watch the film. Although Tube HD is still HD. Most people can't watch anything more anyways.
Not me. I love film. I love the grain. I love black and white film. I love all that. I'm a huge film guy, so I have a feeling
you will really like Beneath Us All, because
it sounds amazing.
Beneath Us All, it's a saga story. It's a mystery. It's a lot of things. And I just watched it again at the festival, Mad Monster Party, and it was wild. It was very, very well received, but a very different audience experience. In Ash and Bone, when we were in theaters, people were screaming and like they were felt like a beer crowd. And then Beneath Us All, I felt like everybody was sitting on pins and needle more than I thought they would actually.
No,
it was cool. A very, like, you could hear a pin drop audience. So I'm curious what's going to happen now, because that was our first public screening, and there's going to be more festivals coming down the pipeline. And I try to travel with the films as much as I possibly can, so that I get a chance to interact with our audience.
That's cool. That's cool. And I am interested in it. So like I said, I will put a link to your IMDb, your Beneath Us All trailer, and for Sean's creature feature across down in the description. After this is done, I'll put it all, I'll go through my thing and fill that all out for everybody. So check that out for anybody that's coming to come back and rewatch it or watching it for the first time. But thank you, Harley. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time. Thanks for all your great stories. That is really cool that, everything you've gotten into and what you've done. And I'm looking forward to what you got coming down the line. And
I think we should hop back on again, because this was a great talk.
Yeah, definitely.
After the Devil's Left Hand releases, maybe we can chat about it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you come back and, if when that comes out in April, we'll do it again. And if your vampire movie comes out in October, that'd be great for Halloween to talk to you about that. So I'm down for it whenever you want to come back, and anytime. And this was a great conversation, and this was fun. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, yes. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And not just with the fans and the audience, but you also taking the time is really, really cool, because you could have been chasing anybody else, and you and I sit here talking shop, and I appreciate it, because there are far many things that I could be doing, and this is probably what I would love to do. So it's awesome to be here and talk about our films.
It's awesome. I love talking to directors, and like I told you, independent directors. I've talked to you. I've talked to Adam Marcus, who did Jason Goes to Hell. I've talked to the Shifley brothers, who are independent film directors. And I really find that the directors over celebrities, no offense to celebrities, but directors over celebrities tend to have a really great conversation, because I'm more into that side of film. And learning about it and what it takes to put together a film, and what you're into and all that. I really enjoyed talking to directors, and this was probably one of my favorite conversations right here on my channel. So I really appreciate it. I really do, because I'm not, like I tell you, I'm not a huge channel. I'm not like super small, but I have a nice little audience that, we love film, we love horror, we love learning about film, and we love hearing people like you talk about how you're into story and character and development, the good guys, bad guys, and stuff. So I very, very much appreciate it. And thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now I have a customary sign off that I do for my audience here. And so it's fun little thing I like to do here. All so right, so to everybody that's watching, I thank you all for watching. Thank you to everybody that was hanging in the chat with us. Thank you, Harley. And as always, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
How you doing? Bitches leave.